What first drew me of storytelling was, again, when I was 5, I watched a lot of Batman cartoons. I was like, oh, that's really cool. I want to do that. And then through a series of events of like, actually, no, I want to make Star Wars movies. Actually, no, I want to make serious art house movies, and just constantly every 5 years being like, no, I know who I am now. Just constantly, whatever thing I like is whatever makes me like storytelling.
Ever since I was little, always had a story that I was coming up with. I was with my friends, would always like come up with a story, and then we'd play out whatever the story I came up with was.
I have always loved stories. Ever since I was little, I've been an avid reader. So books are amazing, and I've loved TV shows and movies. And so I think there's always been a part of me that has just loved the escape into something other than my own life.
My mom put me in dance when I was 2 years old because I had too much energy for her house and I was bouncing off the walls and she thought it would contain me and it didn't. I started pirouetting instead. And I just fell in love with the way you can tell stories through different mediums. And then I started reading books and just fell in love with stories because I think they're the fundamental form of human communication.
I started out as being an actor, and I still like actor is number one for me. But then eventually it grew into fight choreographer, director, writer, lighting designer. I sort of accumulated all these different passions within theater and film that I enjoy doing.
When I was slightly older, like 7th grade, I thought I could be like a comedian and like be in movies and like SNL and stuff. And then I realized that being in front of the camera and in front of people is actually bad, and I never want to do that. So I was like, let's just go behind the camera real quick.
Definitely acting. I have been a little performer since I was quite young, and yeah, all the way up like into high school, I was like, "Yep, this is the thing, and I'm gonna be on Broadway, and it's gonna be awesome." And as I started to go to college and look into some things, I um, realized that teaching is the direction that I wanted to go in. However, I have decided to pursue a master's degree in directing because that has been something that has surprised me in how much I enjoy it.
I always think the simplest way I can think of the director's job is the director's job is to make decisions. Like, you have a lot of people under you who they're specialists and you don't want to get in their way, but it's your job to tell them how to, like, what you want and to make decisions. Like, the lighting designer might come and be like, do you really want harsh lighting or do you really want soft lighting? It's your job to know what the story is and to know what's going to actually benefit the story.
It's usually the director's vision that all of the designers are trying to realize through their own mediums. So it's the director's job to know what they want, to have a clear visual of what they're trying to accomplish in order to help the rest of their team accomplish the big goal.
The director is essentially just supposed to oversee the entire story, the technical aspects, the acting aspects, the writing aspects, and to make sure that it is a conclusive and collaborative story that is being told.
My favorite thing about directing is being in charge because I'm a control freak. But really, what I really like about it is just that it gives me a chance to tell the story in my head, because I constantly have like a movie playing in my head at all times that nobody can see but me, and I just really, really, really want it to get out of my head so I can go to sleep. So it's what's my favorite part of directing is finally getting to make what's playing in my head constantly real. Like when I'm looking in the camera viewfinder, I know we just got that shot I've been thinking about for like 3 weeks.
Favorite thing about directing is being able to tell the story I want to tell, being able to really just pull out of my brain the things that I'm thinking and the things that I'm seeing.
Being able to tell a story and do all the little details, worry about the color of a character's costume and the way that their hair might look, being able to focus on things in the background to symbolism that you can put in lines and costuming and just putting all these wonderful little details in that nobody else is going to notice, but I notice and I like it and it's fun for me. So,
To me, the hardest thing about directing is sometimes just pretending like I know what I'm doing. But honestly, I don't know. Directing it can be hard at many points, but I find hard doesn't necessarily mean bad or negative. I find hard is oftentimes what makes things fun and challenging.
for me, it's balancing working with the actors versus crew because my brain kind of does those two things separately. And when you're on a set of any kind, theater or film, you have to do oftentimes them at the same time. And so for me, balancing when I'm talking to actors and making sure that they're okay versus talking to crew and making sure we're getting everything we need. And so that's probably the hardest part for me.
Like if you have a time crunch, it is definitely like keeping the shots that you want to a minimum. My experience in Backstage Bernie with directing has been interesting in that I had all of these ideas of, I want this shot and this shot and this shot, and then when it came down to it, there wasn't enough time to get all of that. And so I think keeping to scheduling and realizing that, like, you're not going to get everything that you might want, is the hardest thing there.
Alice, the actress Alice, was so fun to work with because she just took that character to such a fun extreme level. I just really liked getting a chance to kind of tell her how far to go and just get to work with something like that. It was super fun.
I really enjoyed in episode 9 directing the moment between Colleen and Bernie when Colleen kind of breaks down a little and connects to Bernie. It's something we don't get to see a lot from characters that are often categorized as the villain, which Colleen, if there is a villain of this series, it could be argued to be her, but I really liked having that moment where we humanized her and we made her seem like less of this superiority complex thing and more of this actual human with hopes and dreams and desires, and I really liked doing that.
The first show I directed was a show I wrote about Cain and Abel, called I Am My Keeper, and it was just filmed. It's still in post production right now, but yeah.
So the first theatrical show that I directed was A Christmas Carol. I co-directed that, and that's what really started getting me into really loving directing. And then the first film that I've directed, film show, has been this one, Backstage Bernie.
I directed a little show in high school. I was part of a series of short productions that I wrote and directed about a dog that fell in love with another dog because I had a crush on a boy and that's all I could think about, and I was a dumb teenager. So that was the first thing I directed, and I try not to think about it too much because it was not very good.
The first show I directed was in it was junior high or high school. I did a movie class, and I directed a terrible short film called 90 Seconds about a man who finds out from a BuzzFeed quiz that he's going to die in 90 seconds. And it's just been, downhill from there.
How to have patience with myself and understand that not everything I desperately want is going to happen because of time constraints, while also being able to prioritize what is essential.
Film is hard. I have a new appreciation for when I'm watching movies or TV and I see all of the different angles and just everything that's going on, and I don't know how they do it, but
I think how much fun it is to see other people who are very passionate about the same thing I am. I just feel like, for a while I didn't feel like I found anybody as passionate as I was or who really thought in the same way I did. And through this experience, I feel like almost everybody, if not everybody, that I have worked with has really shared the passion and the kind of line of thinking that I do.